Welcome to the Brutiful Game. As always, I am Blake here with Ferris.
Hola.
And Ron.
What's happening?
Who just got done watching some Champions League. Tonight's episode of the Brutiful Game, we're going to be discussing title race in the Premier League, and with Arsenal dropping points as they race against Man City, and then the Burn It All Down podcast within a podcast, part 2 of the Chelsea Blues as they once again get beat by Brighton on Lampard's return to the bridge. Woof. It's been some time for the good old Chelsea. I hope we can talk a little about how good the owner is at Team Pep Talks too. I'm sure we'll get to that. Then we'll take a halftime break. The Premier League talk as the Punisher of the pepperoni. I like that one. Ron once again regales us with this edition of Ron's Beer News. Then we will return from the locker room and end with the pod with the rest of the results from around the Premier League. But first up, we got our biggity beer. All right, gents, who wants to go first?
Since we did it last time because Chelsea, and I had one that was kind of. I have another one. It's kind of the title of it is kind of in line with it. So I guess I'll go first. We're actually gonna have two, but this will be the first. This beer is out of Chicago, and it's gonna be a new brewery that we've never had on the pod either. I don't believe, and it is called I Want to Believe. So probably it has a forest in the background, and probably is something more like, do you believe in like Sasquatch or Bigfoot or something along those lines? But the I want to believe, Ron wants to believe that Chelsea are actually have a process, are actually going to be good at some point. So this is from a brewery called Hop Butcher for the World. And you can go over to their site, which is hopbutcher.com. And it's a very slick site. And let me read you a little bit about their about. So in the poem Chicago, Carl Sandburg refers to the great city as Hog Butcher for the World. And though the literal meaning behind the moniker has faded since the closing of the Union Stockyards in 1971, it embodies and inspires who we are and the beers we brew in 3 meaningful ways. For starters, we love hops. We use them a lot. The multitude of occasions to use hops within the brewing process is boundless, and we explore and experiment relentlessly, forever in the name of incredible flavors and worldly aromatics. The butcher portion of the namesake is thankfully less bloody than the history behind it, but there's no shortage of inspiration drawn from these passionate and knowledgeable about their craft, like the butchers we know and love. We hope you find us to be that same brand of approachable, except with hops, grain, yeast, water, in a brewery instead of a butcher shop and a meat-filled counter. Finally, at some point you'll refer to us simply as Hop Butcher in parentheses, and we're cool with that. But for the world part is an important and meaningful element of our name. It inspires the ingredients we use, the characters on our labels, the balance of our beers, how we communicate, and more. It guides us everything from who we partner with to where our cans and kegs are distributed and where they someday might be distributed. Cheers, Hop Butcher of the World, or Hop Butcher for the World.
That's a cool write-up.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so this I Want to Believe is a double IPA. ABV is 7.5%. It has hops of Citra, Eldorado, and Belma. And kind of interesting thing here, last canned on March 20th of 2023, so this is probably one of those.
Nice and fresh.
Yep. And then the label artwork is by Dan Goreska. So it's kind of cool that they share who the artwork on the can is from.
It's cool. It's cool artwork too. On the back, they have the different parts of the hop for different types of flavors, and then on the front is like, what is that? A hop in the wind kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty slick can art.
Cool. So from a brand new brewery we've never had, and I actually got this from a local can shop in town, which I'll talk about when we go into our next beer.
Sweet. Well, I'm doing something we've never had on the pod, I think. My mom was just in town visiting, and she's not a big beer person, but she really digs ciders, but also she has some bad allergies to artificial like flavorings and colors. So we picked her up something from Austin East Ciders, and I snagged this, Ferris, because of a hangout you and I had in Orlando. This is Austin East Ciders. It's their pineapple cider. Because remember, you and me avoided the cider at the beer festival in Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
You, me, and it was with Charles Gray we went to.
Yep.
And we went to it at the end and we're like, oh my God, actually that was amazing.
Yep.
So we snagged this. I haven't tried this yet, but it's kind of cool because it's got a strong UK connection for the football here, or at least like a UK connection, not just for football, but we'd have to ask the guy if he's a football fan. But from across the pond in Bristol, UK, over in England, how did Ed Gibson, an Englishman and former cider bar owner in the heart of England cider country, wind up in Austin, Texas? Who knows really? All that matters is he brought with him an encyclopedic knowledge of cider, a great recipe, and an eye for branding. He met up with a dude down in Austin called Mark King, and they set up the business side. He set up the business side of beer and liquor. And then in 2013, they produced their first cider called Gold Top. And then they brewed their new state-of-the-art facility, or built it in Southeast Austin, where Austin East Ciders is made today. And importantly, from my good old mom, good cider requires good ingredients. We use real Texas honey, real hop flowers, real pineapple, and blood orange juice. We have never used artificial flavorings, and we never will. So there you go. So I'm going to give this a little try.
Awesome.
So that means they're probably a fan of either Bristol City FC or the Bristol Rovers FC.
Yeah, I know. We need to find out.
We should just ping them. We should just ping them right on social media and ask.
Yeah, as soon as we post this. I had this on the pod. What team does the Bristol boys support?
Yeah,
Bristol Rovers.
Probably.
All right.
Shall we crack it?
Let's do this. The cider made me nervous because I've definitely had some carbonation issues with cider before and cracking them open. Wait, we've never done cider on the pod, have we?
Not that I'm aware of.
Not that I can remember.
I remember our buddy Lee. We said, what was his beer drink? He was a cider guy, but I don't think he had one on the pod when we were chatting.
This was very warmly carbonated.
Yeah, mine's better head than yours, but yeah, there's a lot of head.
That's a good pour.
Well, when the beer starts to warm up and try and
because I got this straight from the beer fridge essentially.
Yeah.
So try to put it on ice here for a little bit. And Blake, you're doing yours out of the can?
Yeah, out of the nice, but not just the can, the cool thing Ron gave us.
Those work so well.
Koozie or whatever, that it goes into and shuts down. Yeah. Cheers, gents.
Cheers.
Oh, that's good. If you've ever had ciders before and you don't care for them if you're a beer person because they're too sweet, one of the things that's on this website, if you do English cider, did you know cider isn't supposed to be sweet? This is not sweet. This is really, really good. Cider apples are full of tannins that create astringency and a more complex flavor profile. So it's not supposed to be sweet. This is really good. It's dry too.
This has a very, very aromatic scent to it as you bring it up to your mouth. And then you get a bit of hop bitterness, which goes quickly away to kind of a malty,
mellowy.
Yeah, kind of mellow sweetness. It's not very hard on you and it's not very shocking. And then the pine kind of hits you on the back part of your palate.
Yeah. It's for a double IPA. It's very smooth in the respect that doesn't peel your teeth back with just tons of hop and as they are called hop butcher for the world. I'm going to get that wrong in some capacity 100 times. I'm so sorry. Hop butcher for the world. Yes, it has 3 different kind of hops in it, but it's not overpowering in what usually can be in a double IPA.
Yeah, it's quite good. You also don't taste the 7.5% like you do on some others. It's quite tasty.
Very cloudy. 2. So good stuff.
Well, the beer and cider's ready to roll, gents. Shall we move on to the football?
Yeah, I guess.
Let's do this. All right, first up, the big match of the weekend was Arsenal-Man City, with the pressure rising on Saturdays from Man City's 3-1 win over Leicester City. To be honest, I would have called that at 5-0 the way Leicester's been playing. I guess it's good they got 3-1 out of that against Man City.
I think all 3 came in the first half, right?
At
least 2 of them did.
Arsenal, for a second week in a row, squander a 2-0 lead, this time to West Ham, as a goal in the 54th minute by Gerard Bone. What? Did I say his name?
Jared Bowen. I was like, what are you saying Bone for?
I was like,
where do you see what? Listen, you have to make fun of the guy because he scored on Arsenal. Jeez.
That dude, following a 52nd minute missed penalty by Saka, was enough for David Moyes' Hammers to snag a point from this London derby. I was about to read notes are here, but that's for us just not to say out loud in the pod.
Blake off to a flying start with that one.
Yeah, bud. Like I told you, I had whatever I ate last night that agreed with me. So this cider is going to hit very hard because I cannot have very many calories inside my body right now.
But you look very like East Tennessee Pep Guardiola with that new.
Oh yeah, man.
Hair, man.
Shave the hair down, cut the beard a little shorter.
Yeah, it looks good.
It's Mount Guardiola. That's what I got over here.
Sharp. Man City, yes, they did score all 3 of those goals in the first half and within the first 25 minutes, actually. So then it seemed like they kind of pulled off a little bit. Not that they did. They still had a lion's share of the possession and attacking, so on and so forth. And then there's a lot of subs in the second half from them just because they have a lot of games coming up. They have the second leg against Bayern Munich tomorrow. Yes, they're up 3-0, but you're playing against Bayern, so who the heck knows? So they took off they took off John Stones, Holland, Rodri, and De Bruyne, all very big parts of the kind of core of how they've been doing as of late. So once that kind of happened, Collecti Iheanacho, one of our favorites, Nacho Sack, used to play for Man City, got a goal, did not celebrate, grabbed the ball at the back of the net, and just went back, and they would again, but never got another goal. So that was Saturday, the late afternoon game here, so the late night game there. And then we get to Sunday. And in the first 10 minutes, you're like, Arsenal are going to cruise to probably a 5-0 win. You got Jesus scoring in the 7th minute from Ben White of all folks, and then you have Martin Odegaard who scores in the 10th minute with a lovely kind of back post run, and Gabriel Martinelli played a beautiful ball into him, and boom. But the next thing you know, kind of a lull in the match a little bit, and then a penalty is given, and rightly so, as Gabriel clattered into somebody, just kind of a clumsy challenge. And Benrahma stepped up, made it 2-1 before the half. Come out of the half is interesting because less than 10 minutes after the half, about 7 minutes, there's a penalty given for a handball on Antonio. At first glance, you're like, I don't know if that's a handball, but I think it is. So it's 2-1 at this time. Saka steps up. You expect it to be 3-1, and Arsenal will then kind of cruise on from there. Well, he pulls a Salah and just sails it wide left. And then 2 minutes later, that Jared Bowen fell off of a corner, and Arsenal try to push up, and the ball just gets played back in. He's not marked, comes back post, and a beautiful volley to the short side of Ramsdale. And there you go, 2-2. Once again, Arsenal squander a 2-goal lead, being up at the first half. Interesting time. Interesting time.
I think Arsenal are really missing Saliba,
and I'd actually argue Tomiyasu as well. Just the ability to switch around that defense a little bit. Saliba has turned out to be a very pivotal, and obviously not here, and maybe won't be here until maybe the Man City match. That's
well. I know this may not make sense, but 2 games that they've done this, Saliba hasn't been there. But also in the 2 games is when Gabriel Jesus has been inserted back into the starting squad. Does that have any effect on the level of scoring and or holding a 2-goal lead? That
No, I don't think so, because he's scored in both games. And not only that, in the previous match, he actually helped defend a couple of breakaways that would have gotten toward the goal if he hadn't been playing more on his game than some of the defenders were. I think it's just a purely, I think it's purely, I think you have a young team missing a couple of key defenders that are also like, hey, we're up 2-0. And they just took they just chilled a little bit and relaxed.
I say that because I do think it's interesting, and it may just be a very coincidental thing. But you look at who that first sub coming out of half was in the 67th minute. It was Gabriel Jesus going off and Trossard coming in. What Trossard has done since playing for Arsenal, and I kind of stand corrected on thinking he's not going to be a good signing necessarily. I don't think it's going to end well for him there. But don't need to get into that. But Trossard has a bag full of assists that really have set up Xhaka, Odegaard, Martinelli, and a lot of those, where Jesus doesn't necessarily do that. He's more of a target man from them. Yes, he works hard. He comes back. He collects the ball. But he's not going to be that provider to
that's not true.
Goal threat.
Because early in the season, it was all he's got more assists than goals.
It was, right? But that's not the case so far, right? Since he's been inserted back into the team, and what you kind of did was you threw that 3-headed monster of Trossard, Martinelli, and Saka, who were doing really well together, and kind of vibing in a more fluid way. I feel like putting up more than 2 goals and putting up a handful of goals, and you insert what is an out and out number 9 for all intensive purposes, and not really provider as much, and more of a front man goal threat. Just a different look of attack, right? So I wonder if that has anything to do with it. The other thing is the past 2 games, Arteta's substitutions have been interesting and a bit, I don't want to say fearful, but hold the fort. We're kind of a little nervy to give up points. You take off Partey, who's a rock in that midfield, and I believe is everything good on why you get how you guys are able to push forward for Jorginho. Okay. Fabio Vieira comes in for Tierney, so okay, get a little bit more attacking. The next 2, Reece Nelson for Martinelli. I like Martinelli's pace, especially late in the game. And Nketiah for Odegaard. He's your main creative force. So that seems interesting to me. Why do you take off when your fastest player on the pitch, who already has an assist in the game and is terrorizing that left side? And then why do you take off your creative force, who already has a goal in the game, and an assist, I believe, on the first goal? Just interesting to me to put in, yes, attackers, but not necessarily proven attackers or who offer the same thing and change a little bit of that tactics.
I mean, these are also attackers who've come in and won games that were tied.
Also won 1. And Nketiah played a string of matches that didn't come in when Jesus was hurt. So he hasn't really played off the bench and done well. So again, attackers, but you're taking off.
You have to take off Partey. He was terrible in that game.
Right. So I said fair enough. I said I primarily look at those last 2, right? Is you're taking off big parts of your offense that are creative aspects for less quality players.
I think if Jesus isn't coming back from an injury, he doesn't go off when he does. And I think like somebody else
That's
goes.
fair.
I think Saka comes off and maybe Trossard goes in. I think feeling the need to have to substitute him in your 60th minute is it's like a given. Because I actually would have liked to have seen, and Saka was a little off too. I mean, not just the penalty.
Right. I mean, I probably, maybe it wouldn't have been good optics to sub him off, a half an hour or so after the missed pen, and everybody misses pen. So,
but if it gets in his head and you need to get him off.
Right. And I, you didn't necessarily see that. But I don't know. In the 85th and the 90th, when you need goals, you take off your fastest player and your most creative player. You're not saving them for anything. You're no longer in any other tournament. Why aren't you playing and pushing for that, knowing that a win is crucial at this point with City breathing down your neck? Very, very interesting to me.
I put this squarely at the feet of the defense.
Yeah.
Right? If you can't see out a 2-0 match against West Ham, who are where in the table?
Yeah.
And you are supposed to be the title contender. Gabriel made horrific choices in this match and in the Liverpool match. Rash challenges when that penalty that he gave away was completely senseless.
Well, and to hit that real quick, you see that he's always been that player. However, we see it here in Orlando City when Antonio Carlos is in. Johnson or Johansson back there calms him down a bit. It's a little bit more calm, cool-headed that balances out that a bit. Well, with Rob Holding there, I feel like Gabriel feels like he has to do everything. He has to try to make every challenge. And he's going to be a little bit more he's going to be a little bit more taking chances at a challenge or at a certain play, where maybe with Saliba there, knowing that he has a rock next to him, he wouldn't have to do that.
Yeah, if the light is on, in my opinion, when the light is on Gabriel, he comes up wanting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Positionally, not that great in this match. Couldn't seem to read the plays as well as you would expect someone to. Rob Holding, who? I mean, he was not a very good difference maker in this match. His hair.
I miss Tomiyasu as well. Like,
yeah. So to be honest, I think even if you would have made that penalty, sure, you would have won it. But it's still the fact that the Arsenal defense is really they're just uncomfortable. It seems like they're all uncomfortable.
Because that penalty was when it was. Had they gone up 3-2, my money still the way it was would have
3-1. It would have been 3-1 at that time.
3-1. I still like they were playing like 3-3 was an inevitability. They really just let the foot off the gas.
Well, the other thing is here is Ben White and Gabriel have been pretty much nailed on starters in that back line all year, right? Rob Holding not as much. He's holding his own at times, and his hair game is just absolutely on point nowadays. Tierney in there, loved a good tucked in kit, but offers something different than Zinchenko does, who was out in this game. Had kind of a shocker against Liverpool, thigh injury until mid-May. What he brings is he pushes the other team back through his offense, right? Not the best but yeah, Tierney's not going to do that. Tierney can be a menace to you along the touchline, but he's not going to necessarily be fearful in the eyes of a defense to really push and even get into that midfield slot and start to spray the ball out to Martinelli on that side or into Jesus or to Odegaard or whoever. So I think the dynamic there has changed a bit with him not being in there as well.
No, yeah. And so what we're talking about are like several key little components not being part of what they have been. And so I think you kind of get the result that you get out of that is what happens.
So I think a question for you, Blake, does this really fall to Arteta for not kind of rotating a bit more players, right? He's by and large has had the same rough starting 11 all season long. And these defenders who are in these clutch games during key injuries look very uncomfortable. But couldn't he have subbed one or two in during normal games throughout the season to get them a little more comfortable? So when you are in these clutch games, you're not giving away needless points?
I don't know. I mean, you could easily argue the other side of this is why they don't get that time, and they need to bolster their back line more as far as bench is concerned. I mean, Tierney is like your best bench. Tomiyasu is a great rotator. I'm actually, Tomiyasu is a good example of that. He did rotate through a lot.
But he's kind of the only one,
right? But not these starters, right? We didn't see a whole lot of Rob Holding before. Really didn't see a whole lot of Tierney before.
I think there's a reason we don't see a lot of Rob Holding.
Fair enough.
But that's my point. There's a reason you don't see him, so you keep him benched, and then when you need to count on him, you can't.
Yeah, but so then you do play him and you lose because of. I mean, I don't know how you win that.
But I think what Ron's saying is a little bit more play time and throughout the season gets these guys a little bit more prepared. And not that Rob Holding has been the reason why the Arsenal have given up 2-goal leads. For whatever reason, this has been the case. At Anfield, Liverpool being down 2, you always knew they were going to kind of come back. Whether you look at the Xhaka kind of scuffle that he had or not as the spark of that's been debated all last week. What do you look at here, though, is a defender that made a clumsy challenge and got them back into the game with the pen. Gabriel's always known for that. So there's a lot of factors that kind of play into this, and it's does Arteta know how to maneuver through this, right? Pep's been through something like this before and usually does, and Man City comes out on the other end good. Now, they have a hell of a lot more depth than any other team does.
I think that's the biggest thing is they've got that insane depth, which they'll be losing a lot of champions for when they discovered the financial fair play was totally busted. And that's how they have this.
But the other aspects, Arsenal have put all of their eggs in this basket.
Well, I think you play the hand. What happens to the phrase if you played the hand you're dealt, though?
It's not the hand you're dealt.
You're saying, they have a great bench. He should be doing what they do, even though he doesn't have that great bench.
No, I understand it. So then why are you taking out Martinelli and Odegaard when you put all your eggs in one basket? Why are you taking those eggs back out when you need a win here, knowing that City are raining down your neck? So that I put on the step or on the footstep of Arteta. Why do that? Why make that change? Because Nelson didn't offer a whole lot when he came in, and Ketia didn't offer a whole lot. They came in and completely changed the attack on what those two bring differently than what Martinelli and Odegaard bring. He did that against Liverpool with some odd substitution. He keeps subbing off his captain in Odegaard. What are you saving for at this point? If you're pushing for the title and all your eggs in that basket, for me, if he's my captain and he's the creative force behind what our team does, you're playing boom.
You have to be all in.
You're playing every game from here on out because there's no more FA Cup. There's no more Europa League. So now we're pushing for the title. Are you in or not? And maybe Arteta's helping him in some way or keeping him fit. I don't know, but it's just very curious substitutions in the last two games for me that you can point, not fully, but point a little bit of that finger at Arteta and kind of scratch your head and go,
I don't know. I need to go back and look at some of these player stats and player ratings for the matches because
the XG.
I think that might get you.
I don't even know what that means, but
X goals expected.
It might get you part. Also, Odegaard came out pretty late.
Yes, he did. But again, I'm not bringing him out in 90 minutes when there's 5 minutes added and you need a goal. When he has a goal and an assist on the day, I'm not doing it. And he came out in the Liverpool game. If you give me just a second, he came out
that's such a you do that then and then he breaks his ankle in those 5 minutes. You go, well, that was dumb. He should have subbed him off. And
he came out in the 80th against Liverpool. Now your backs were to the wall a bit in terms of the Liverpool relentless attack there, but you're still taking off your captain. And he's usually the second sub out in most games. Just interesting when you know that you have better quality than West Ham.
Hey, he stayed healthy.
He is, but if that
costs you the title,
That did not cost the title in the ninth. Odegaard would have made no difference in this match.
You don't know that.
No, because it's what Ron said. It was all the defense, man. That was all the defense cutting off.
Play.
No, that's what I'm saying.
But you need a goal, so the hell would.
It didn't matter who was going to be up front. That defense couldn't hold on to the ball. Even Odegaard said it. They couldn't hold on to the ball. They were giving it away in stupid areas.
He's in midfield. He's responsible for not holding on to the ball. What the hell?
Oh, that's exactly what he's saying.
I don't know. Interesting. Man City, if they completely win out, will win the title by 2 points. And Arsenal win, but lose to the City. So interesting. That Arsenal City match in
stupid
a week and a half time is
that at the Etihad?
Crucial, yeah,
or at home?
That's
at the Etihad. Crucial. Crucial.
That's going to be squeaky bum time.
Remember when we got into an argument earlier in the season, and I said, in order to be the champs, you have to beat the champs. You're going to have to do that at the Etihad in a week and a half time.
But you said that, but that's not always the case. Like this year,
well, I haven't said it every year. I've said it for this year because of how the season's seemingly going to play out, with City always up there and just vying for it. And if you can't beat them,
no squeaky. We will be the champions of this year.
Do you want to put a bet on that?
It'll be announced in 3 years when the financial fair play investigation is over. Don't worry, Ferris. You're going to get one of those too, I believe.
Hey, thanks, man. That's right, though. The only year when we got second. That's right. Thank you.
It's all good. It's all good, baby. It's all good.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I mean, I can't I can't get, for whatever reason, I'm just not getting riled up. We're so far and above away what everyone said with sacking Arteta last year that it's like, do I want to win? God, yes. But if you'd have said, would you like to be at this spot right now?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you're just like, God, yes. Oh, are you kidding? We're back in the Champions League.
Absolutely.
St. Tottering's Day happened officially, right? At that point?
I don't know.
Hey,
I'm not sure. I have to go back and look.
I think officially happened.
Yeah,
so,
no,
I'm not blowing it off. Don't be wrong. That was a frustrating thing to watch. I mean, but I don't know. I just I thought, am I going to be out of my mind? I really wasn't. I think it's just because we've been bad for a long time. So it's real fun to have.
You also had the lead of the Premier League for a long time. Yeah. So if you bottle at this stage, that's going to be a lot of talk. But
but you bottle it with a very young team.
That young experience you get from this, absolutely. Absolutely. And Arsenal are going to be up there for a bit. I feel like with that young talent.
And it should make the hiring for next season easier, being the Champions League. Yes, Tuesday, the 11th, April 2023 was St. Totteringham's Day. I love it when you search it. It pops like a Google, like it's a freaking holiday. It gives the day.
So I saw this interesting stat on Twitter that said if Arsenal miss the Premier League title to Man City and Manchester United end in third, Manchester United will have had the better season.
Oh, absolutely.
Because Manchester United won silverware and
are still vying for two others,
right?
Essentially.
And Arsenal will have lost out on the whole. And I just didn't, it's one of those stats where you go, oh, I didn't think of it that way.
I mean, a lot to still show. I mean, United, when we get to them, in this,
there's a lot going on.
The second half of the pod, we have a full team that's out injured right now, including our two main center backs. So a lot to be played. Interesting, and that goes back to the whole putting the eggs in one basket, right? But if you put all your eggs in this basket, which seemingly Arsenal has done, don't necessarily blame them for that because they've been in the lead and yada yada yada, and they feel like that's the best chance to win it. Silverware. But if you bottle it, you got no more eggs in that basket.
Yeah, they're all smashed.
So
I just need Chelsea to win their last game of the year against Man City.
Whose eggs are smashed, scrambled, thrown against cars' eggs. Todd Bowley scrambled his eggs and then went down to the locker room and gave him a pep talk after the game like a good owner should.
Shall we move to Burn It All Down Part 2? We need a banjo for this. Burn it all down. Burn it all down, part two. For a hot second, Frank Lampard's return to Stamford Bridge in the league looked promising as a Conor Gallagher's goal in the 13th minute put his struggling Blues side up against Brighton. But from there on out, it was all Brighton's day as it just subbed on Danny Welbeck, headed one home in the 42nd minute. And then on the other end of the break, Julian, it's just, do it, Ferris. I'm terrible.
Oh. Julio and
Kiso? Kiso? I'm really bad with that.
Yeah,
Goal of the year contender strike was more than enough to hand Chelsea yet another loss as they are winless in 5 matches in the league. Now, to be fair, Brighton ain't no snub of a team. Brighton's good. But I think it's this performance from Chelsea followed by the owner going down and talking to the lads.
That news came out yesterday, and
what a bunch of clown shoes.
I should have had that on the pod and drink a little
Ferris,
clown shoes.
Ferris, I'm gonna need.
You want me to do the bleep
I need you to do
for
the bleep sheet.
I'm so excited right now. It's not me for a change.
What was that? 36.25.
I got you. I'm looking at it right here. I got you. Give me that pen and paper.
Do it up here.
Okay.
Follow that timeline.
Yep.
Not
I got you. Okay. Here we go. This is exciting.
His face. He is so excited.
Come on. I feel like I'm gonna audit something with this paper and pen.
He's like Captain Kirk just handed the bridge over to Bones or something.
I know. Awesome. Go on, son. You start
Scotty.
cursing away.
Totally to Scotty. Yep.
So, okay, it's an abysmal performance yet again. So we'll cover that in a minute. But what kind of leadership is Clown Shoes Bowley going down there to yell at the players? Obviously, they already know that their performance wasn't good. They don't need him to come down there and tell them that it's embarrassing.
Him and 2 others. Didn't his posse of folks go down there?
It's him and his friggin' cronies.
So guess what? Well, I was gonna say you can't recruit anybody next year anyway because you're not allowed to spend any money. But who's gonna want to go play?
And by this, we're becoming unmanageable.
And didn't I just see that after the loss last week, they re-signed or they extended Enzo Fernandez's deal by another year?
Yeah.
Which is there 12 years now or something insane. You're like, he's a really tidy player. I think he's going to be in that for a long time, right? He's quality. He's good. But seriously, that's what you're worried about right now? He's already signed for 8 years.
When he extended his new contract now to being on 12 years, Mudryk puked in the corner when he heard about it.
He goes, I'm getting a baker's dozen out of this. I'm getting 13 years. Screw you, buddy.
I think it's just, what do you actually know about managing a team or owning the team? It's clear.
Or just leadership, dude. Just bare bones. Not even soft. That's bare bones leadership. That's
abysmal.
So of course now does Thomas Tuchel getting fired make absolute sense? Because could you imagine?
Yeah. I mean, look, I give that kind of the benefit of the doubt on both sides of the coin, right? Because who knows what was going on when, and the vision for the teams, and this, because also that is well before a very abysmal line of games where there was only one 4-game streak of wins or draws that kind of seemed like we were about to pick ourselves up, and then we sunk back down. Right. So the sound
of your dog chewing on that bone hitting the cracking me up.
She's going to town.
She's having a good time
on the brutal game.
He
called them embarrassing. It's so unprofessional.
So not only that, he said that the play is embarrassing. He singled out an unnamed player who was signed this year. Hold on a second.
Burn it all down. Sorry, I had to add in some energy for you there.
I'm getting there.
Just wanted to get one down.
I have to write down my own damn bleep this time.
Yeah, it's not so easy, is it? But how do you expect this team to pick themselves up and move forward with an owner and his cronies, Clown Shoes, who go down there and just scream at the players. They don't need that.
Have you ever worked at a place and seen something like that happen, and you can like clock the moment that people like within the next 6 months they will either quit, get fired, or like you don't even understand why they're still being there because they're so unproductive. They're just like, all right, whatever, dude.
Yeah,
whatever.
And this team is in a bit of a change from the Roman Abramovich, right? Because Abramovich never went to the locker room unless they won silverware.
Well, I mean, by UK law at times, he really couldn't go to the locker room.
Fair enough.
But as an owner, he was not that involved. Whereas this clown shoes...
No, he'll send someone to break your legs. He doesn't need to show up and say anything.
Completely fair, Blake.
But this clown shoes moron is in the locker room all the time, which that in and of itself is not bad.
No, you know what?
But his leadership.
You know who it reminds you of? It's like Jerry Jones is in the EPL.
Yeah, right. Good. Yeah,
That's a good correlation.
That just grossed me out.
The whole world is telling this team they're terrible. They can't turn on the news without seeing it. They can't walk down the street without hearing it. Everybody knows Chelsea's got problems. And so your great leadership idea is to march your fat fucking feet down the stairs and have a go at the players? Of course they fucking know that they're not doing well. They want you on their side, helping and supporting them, not being a fucking down there screaming about how embarrassing their it is. They understand that already. What the
desperately trying to get you just need to put
the 41st minute, just everything. God almighty, I'm trying to keep look up here. I'm getting excited.
So what are the players going to do now? They're going to expect that every time they have a bad game, that Clown Shoes and his cronies are going to come down there and give him the business. So one, who wants to play for a stick like that? And two, all these players are going to be hauling out of there. And what manager in their right mind is going to go, you know what? I have a brilliant plan. I'm going to go work for damn Chelsea. What the are you guys doing?
All 42nd minute too.
You have no game plan. Before the Real Madrid match, in the first leg of Champions League, Sky Sports went and interviewed him, and he said, we're going to win 3-0. I am totally confident. What the do you know? Your team is languishing, and we're lucky that we're still in 11th. By the way, we're only 3 points away from 12th, and then from there, it's an easy slip to 15 and 16. So what the do you actually know about any of this? You are just proving that you're an ignorant American in this sport.
No, he's excited because he knows you can get the number 1 draft pick.
He's ready for the All-Star game.
Well, and do you know what was interesting to me is there was also reports on Saturday when this is happening that from his box he got heckled from supporters above him.
Yeah,
and actually kind of looked like he was going back and forth in some degree. Do you think that was like, okay, well now I got to show them that I'm the boss because they were heckling me and I'm in charge of this team, so I got to go down there and tell them that they're terrible? Like, you think that those two correlated with each other? Because I think it did.
I think it just
and he had to play
more fuel to the fire.
Right. He had to pull up his belt and in his pants and go, I'm walking down there because now I just heard from the fans and I got to write my dick. God bless it. So I don't know.
I think you have a rich a-hole that thought he had thick skin and knew how to deal with media and had no clue what that means in England.
Right. He was not prepared for the onslaught of that he is getting in the UK. And really, in my opinion, the chance of you don't know what you're doing should not have been pushed toward Potter's way. It should have all been pushed to Bowley's way, because clearly it in my opinion, it is clear now that Potter didn't really have that much managing going on because Clown Shoes and his cronies are the ones trying to make all the decisions, and they know all about football.
I don't know, man. I kind of think that actually most fans probably were on both. I think they thought Potter was a bad choice, and then I think they thought that Bowley doesn't know what he's doing. So I don't know.
Was Potter a bad choice when you say, here's a team that you got hired in to do, and then here's 8 new players that you have to try to integrate into the team at all costs? You know, that's kind of unfair for any manager to have. You completely, upturn. It's like it's changing the ship on a crew out, right? Like that captain's really not going to be like, oh, these are all new people. I don't know what he's good at. I don't know what he's good at. Oh, did he good at? Oh, maybe you worked the rail, or do you do this? Like, so it's whether it's Potter or not. Yes, it may have been in too deep with it, but at the same point, he was handed a bad hand there.
Yeah. Which goes back to my question of why the do you leave Brighton for the dumpster fire that was Chelsea at the time?
Oh,
I still say that if he had
we had the answer. There was a lot of money involved.
Yes.
Yeah, but now what's his stock? His stock's worth now.
Well, it doesn't matter. He's getting a paycheck and he's having bonbons on the beach of Ibiza.
And you know what's something, Ron? The worse Chelsea does right now, and the more it's very clear that ownership is terrible, it might help him a little bit. I mean, he certainly could go into a conversation being like, I think you can see what I left and what I inherited. I don't know how bad he might in turn get his stock improved out of this whole situation, or at least, not as negatively, not as negatively. I can't speak right now. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Not as bad, because clearly, as Ferris said, a completely untenable situation. I mean, Ten Hag right now is one of the most promising managers to step into the Premier League. He would flounder and fail at the current Chelsea as well. You know what I mean? There's not going to be a way to win that out. In fact, Ferris, did you feel like when Ten Hag or the search for a manager was happening, that it was like, okay, this one has to be the right one, at least for a little while?
Yeah. Or
we're just going to get in this like slump of never getting better, no consistency.
Absolutely.
Right. I feel like Chelsea is, I think you guys are more quickly already there because of the owner. If you can't get in a manager that can seem to take hold, or is allowed, I should say, to take hold of the situation, who's going to jump in?
Well, we're already at who's going to jump in.
Yeah.
There is nobody. Why would you take a Chelsea appointment now? You saw that you burned Potter out in, 7 months?
He aged 10 years.
Yeah, he looked like he had gone through 4 years of the U.S. presidency.
He looks like when Harry Potter started the 8th film, and when he ended the 8th film by the train, he looked like that. And that short of a 2.5 hour time frame.
Who's going to come in and go, I'm a glutton for punishment, I'll do it? No one wants to touch us.
And the thing is, it's not nobody wants to touch you because of Chelsea, the brand, or the players that are on the field, right?
No, all the circumstances.
This is because not only circumstances, but the owner. Like, I don't want to work for an owner like that. Like, that was a little bit different than United in the fact, but like, yes, supporters and whatnot, we want the Glazers out for various number of reasons, but their balding ponytail aren't walking down to the locker room to tell Pogba what to do or whatever, right? So there's like, oh, I don't want to work for an owner that's going to come down and tell me what to do in my domain. I know he's paying the checks, but that's a little.
Did you see the quote of what Frank Lampard said?
Yeah.
The player was like claimed to be, they didn't announce yet, but he was claimed to be disgruntled in open training yesterday ahead of the Champions League clash with Real Madrid. Blues manager Frank Lampard said yesterday, I'm comfortable with that. I had my things to say after the game. There's maybe some criticism of our old owner of not coming to games and being around. That wasn't always true. I remember moments as a player of owners first coming into dressing rooms. I remember being happy. I don't think it's a bad thing. I had my things to say. If an owner wants to come in and be positive and speak to the players, they can do that. No problem with that. It shows passion, and that's the first thing that I like. But he didn't come in and say something positive. That's a weird quote from Lampard.
So I think that's in my opinion, reading kind of between the lines, I think it's a veiled dig at the owners saying you should be coming in here saying something positive.
Yeah, barely veiled because he's already an interim player. What does it matter? I mean, interim coach.
Yeah, he's got nothing to lose. What are you going to do? Fire him? Great. We'll go for 4 in one fucking season.
If you can imagine if they fired Frank like this, the fans would. Hate
God,
more.
This is so bad.
See, Ferris, that's the thing. I mean, West Ham match was frustrating, but we're not Chelsea right now. So
yeah, but in fairness, we've both been there.
We have both been.
I don't know. Have you been this fucked up?
Give me a second before I gotta write down a damn curse word, and then I'll tell you if I was that fucked up. That's 2 I gotta write down now.
I don't know, man. I think this is worse because yes, we're frustration with the owners at both of our clubs, but the owners weren't doing this. They also weren't cramming tons of players for no reason onto the,
our owners were just trying to get into the Super League and do other stuff. But, that's fair. No, but you're right. It shades of a lot, and it's almost a perfect storm of what's going on there. And you have to, at this point, in my opinion, put it at the feet of Bowley. You have to, because how many more managers are you going to go through or buy players or do this that have completely upturned what it is done, right? Different from United, different from what Arsenal did, where they went through Unai Emery and this and that and the other. We went through Jose and something Army. What is his name? God almighty, I forgot his name.
Oh, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer?
No, not Ole, the one before Jose. Anyways.
Oh.
Dutch manager.
Oh.
I'm forgetting his damn name.
Took the sniper bullet.
Van Gaal, yeah. You go through these, and they bring in their own players that they think maybe or whatever, and yada, 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 and, you get through. This is just different because it has the fingerprint of Bowley all over it.
But it's also a faster decline than almost any other team I've seen.
Well, when you spend millions and millions and millions and hundreds of millions of dollars faster than anybody has seen in the course of a 30-day period, that's going to change everything else faster.
And you literally, right, because we were looking at the math and it's been explained in articles, you really can't, you have to actually unload a bunch of players. You can't really even bring in new people.
Yeah, you'd have to unload enough players to be able to bring in another person.
That's bonkers. The story of why isn't Amazon filming their behind the scenes thing or whatever?
I know, right? Wouldn't that be great?
Would be the greatest year. We got to move on because I'm gonna just throw my computer.
All right, Ron's curse count real quick. Let's give it here. I'm gonna give you since I have the audit sheet here, and then we'll move on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22.
It's like
23.
So we like
wow, 24, and a majority of those were that well-known F word there.
So if we're like 0.84 curses per minute or something like that.
Something like that. And the times are like, you have to look around those times because I was trying to get them fast.
Basically, just go to whenever we start talking about Chelsea and Ron's going to
essentially
bleep the whole segment.
Essentially a really good starting point from the 41st minute to the 53rd minute.
Oh,
that's a bulk of them right there.
what a show.
Okay, let me add that one. The old SS this time. I got that one on there. We haven't seen that one before here. I had what was one that I put down? I put an old a Dial. Yeah. I put a F burn it all down. I have a FDH. I don't know. Yeah, that was that one. So we got that one to add again. So that was a good.
Oh God, this show became way more comedy show. It's weird. You should have reversed these two matches because Ron's got to talk about beer news, which ostensibly is fun next. Give him time to
nice
cool
and riled up.
Well, I mean, this was the very few cases where the sequel's actually better than the first one.
Yeah. Oh, it's like Alien and then Aliens. Just way more of them. This was way more. It's way more. Yeah. Wait. Okay. I'm trying to get off of Chelsea, but who's your next match?
Well, it was Real Madrid today, and that didn't go too well.
You got Brentford, then you got Arsenal, then you got Bournemouth, Nottingham, Man City's the last.
And United's in there somewhere because United and Chelsea were supposed to play this week, having not been in the FA Cup.
Yep. You got Newcastle.
That's a rough end of the season.
Yeah. That's why I'm saying it's easy to foresee that we could slip to 15, 16 in the Premier League.
Well, luckily you're not going down because there's some really terrible teams.
Can you imagine the parachute payment going down with what already bullies put into the team? You'd have the richest squad in the championship by a hell of a lot.
Oh, good grief, that would be insane.
I can't even say that we would be promoted the next year.
Ron, we gotta move on. Just play the halftime whistle, please. Just get it going for us, because that
for son of a clown shoes mother pus bucket.
Speaking of, let's move over to the purveyor of pork. What did you call him? The Punisher of pepperoni.
Yes.
Boy, does that sound dirty.
That was the whole point of that one.
Let's move on to Ron's beer news.
Alrighty, so switching gears to beer news.
I'm sorry. It's a very
We're only 16 minutes behind schedule, but well worth it.
It was a harsh gear shift, and then I'm looking at the picture I took of you and Ferris.
That is brilliant.
Trying to quickly take all the notes down.
Well, okay. This really is just an education for Ferris, because the next time he goes on a swear-ridden tirade, he knows how hard it is to do what we have to do.
At least I clump mine into. You just write like 52 to 54, and you just right there. You went like a good 10 minutes of stuff there.
Because there's some pods where Ferris is like, oh, they're Blake with the cursing. And I think you guys realized that I was like, I can't add my own. I'm trying to track too many of these. I just can't do this.
So let's talk about some interesting beer news, shall we? Anheuser-Busch and internet influencer Dylan Mulvaney seemingly entered a marketing campaign together. Bud Light sent Dylan cases of Bud Light with her face on them to celebrate 365 days of girlhood. A video was then posted, which featured the influencer in a bathtub drinking Bud Light as part of the ad campaign. The announcement was met with significant backlash, with Twitter users describing the ad campaign as another attempt to push gender propaganda. Anheuser-Busch then defended the ad campaign, stating, Anheuser-Busch works with hundreds of influencers across our brands as one of the many ways to authentically connect with audiences across various demographics. From time to time, we produce unique commemorative cans for fans and for brand influencers like Dylan. This commemorative can was a gift to celebrate a personal milestone and is not for sale to the general public. You guys heard about all this?
Yes, I did. I'm just very confused with it all, to be honest with you.
Gay people can't have beer, I guess. People suck.
I mean, at the end of the day, who gives a rat's behind? I already have enough bleeps. I'm not going to do that to myself. But who gives a rat's behind who drinks what beer, when, why, in their bathtub, in their toilet, who in the shower? Who cares?
And furthermore, whatever style of beer or beverage that you choose to drink does not define a whole gender or movement in any sort of way.
Right.
Whether you are gay, straight, bi, trans, you name it. If you like Pacifico, for instance, I could give two shits and it's a hell of a beer and enjoy the hell out of it. Bud Light's not for the far right or for, those that live out in the sticks and that's all they drink. It is a widely popular beverage that is to the masses. Whoever they decide that they want to send commemorative cans to or back or have a marketing campaign with should not affect how you drink it, unless they're going to market what's his name over in North Korea, which, is not going to happen. But, something to that extent. But should not define the sexuality of what the drink is. That's ridiculous.
So the far right let's call a spade, the far right backlash from some very interesting people.
Travis Tritt got him in there.
Oh, yeah, just wait. So statements came from many people that mocked Bud Light over the partnership. Conservative commentator John Cardillo wrote, "Who the hell at Bud Light thought this was a great idea to make a grown man who dresses like little girls their new spokesperson? Brands have to stop listening to their, quote, woke creative teams and get in touch with their consumer demographics," says a man who has no clue what's actually happening in the world.
Well, yeah, I mean, spoken by someone who's like assumes that demographics are him.
Yeah. The Spectator contributing editor, Stephen Miller, might genuinely be the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm pretty sure there's a lot more weird stuff
going
what an
asinine comment. That is, we got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Townhall.com columnist Derek Hunter joked, "Bud Light, the groomer of beers."
God, that's so stupid.
Yeah. Another interesting one from Robbie Starbuck, which is kind of a fun name, but he's kind of a tool. Message to conservative families from @Bud Light seems to be, "We will encourage and even celebrate the erasure of men and women, along with all of the values they care about. They've gone totally, quote, woke."
Just remember, boys and girls, when equality feels like oppression to you, you are part of the group that is doing the oppressing.
Cheers to that.
Put that on a t-shirt. Yeah.
So then there's a really fun one. Travis Tritt.
Oh, God, you did.
Says that he is going to ban Bud Light from all of his tours.
No. Specifically where, though?
Oh, that part I didn't see.
It's his green room. It's like the rider where you drinks backstage.
He did say he's going to remove it from his
because he can't. There's contracts in place, and who does he think he is? Freaking Dubai or no? Where was the World Cup? Qatar. Like, yeah.
It's a little bit different from just removing like red M&Ms from your rider. Like that's
so he's just going to have to pony up a forkload of money to pay off his contract.
Well, the way I read it was his backstage area, which that's just the rider of when he's a tour in a band. We had we want a 6-pack, we want a 2 4-packs of Guinness or whatever. I mean, the way I read that is literally it's his green room and not because the stadiums have their own contracts. The master, remember man, he can't. Yeah.
So the article I read was he was removing it from his tour.
Yeah, from his tour. So like not like if he goes to the Amway, they're InBev at the Amway. They're selling Bud Light, regardless of what Travis Tritt says. There's a contract there that says, And he once had an album that was called Trouble. Trouble.
Yeah.
He just got himself into
in the most inane protest of this entire thing. Kid Rock wasted $472 worth of ammunition to shoot a case of Bud Light.
Now, Ron, as someone who's worked on film and done a lot of gun work and stuff, as we have, did you watch that video and how bad he was at shooting that gun?
Yeah.
Because it's comedy all in and of itself.
Yeah, spray and pray.
Also, for the kids listening at home, look up Kid Rock and his parents. They are insanely wealthy, and he came from a lot of money. He is a complete fraud.
Yeah, he plays this kind of like, I'm from the sticks, didn't have much money growing up, kind of outlaw.
That's what I thought,
right?
To be honest with you. Yeah.
He is nothing of the sort. So now that we've peeled those layers of the onion back, let's look at Bud Light's Vice President of Marketing, Alyssa Heinerschied. She basically said that when she was hired, the mandate was to better connect with the brand future. And so she says that she was inspired to update the quote fratty and out of touch humor of the beer company with inclusivity. So on the Make It Yourself at Home podcast on March 30, she discussed, I'm a businesswoman and I had a really clear job to do when I took over Bud Light. And it was, this brand is in decline. It's been in decline for a really long time. And if we do not attract younger drinkers to come drink this brand, there is no future for Bud Light. She further said she had a very clear job to do, and it was a mandate that she reach out and find new drinkers and new brands or new markets for this brand. It has to evolve and elevate this iconic brand, and it has to be through inclusivity. So they need to appeal to 1, women, and 2, younger drinkers. She disparaged the work of Bud Light's past branding. She says, quote, we had this hangover. I mean, Bud Light had been this brand of fratty kind of out of touch humor, and it was really important that we have another approach. I think this was a smart thing for her to do.
Oh, it puts it in the news. You have to see how everything shakes out. To be honest, like in some ways, a lot of it we've gotten very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you know, the quote about the frat boy mentality, like if I was going to film a scene with a bunch of dudes like shotgunning beers, it's probably Bud Light.
It's up there in the top 3
with a bunch of, you know, TNA and swimsuits, right?
Yeah.
You know, fawning over guys who are playing cornhole on the beach, shirtless with their Bud Lights. Like, I mean,
also,
as a kid, that's all I remember Bud Light commercials to be.
And if the demographic, as that guy said, is like, oh, they forgot their demographic. Well, your demographic's not buying if they're in decline.
Right.
Ooh.
It's just one big mess. You know, good for her for coming out and explaining the whys and hows.
Yep.
As an executive or whatnot, she doesn't have to do that. Explain that, but it's a complete and utter mess that tries to point. There's so much of pointing the finger at somebody else from a lot of different aspects here. No one sits there and, well, why don't you not point the finger or turn that finger and point it around to you?
My question is this. An influencer has also marketed the beer to another demographic. Does it not taste still like your same Bud Light? Right?
Yes,
it doesn't matter who it's being marketed to. The beer still sucks. What are you upset about? There's your beer news.
There you go.
2 things I'm fired up or out of a cannon for.
You know, it would be great if I would have brought Bud Lights for our second beer.
Oh,
not the case, but I did bring out a light beer.
We do have 2 Bud Lights in there.
Do you really?
Yeah, that's so funny.
I do have a light beer, but this one is from GB Light. It's GB Bottle Shop's own light lager. So GB Bottle Shop is where I got our first beer from. And it is located just north of downtown in the Ivanhoe Village, which we've all been to and enjoy. And GB Bottle Shop specializes in craft beer, wine, and meads. We're first and foremost a bottle shop and growler bar, but feel free to stick around and hang out in our bar enjoying anything off of our 20 rotating taps or one of the many bottles you find in the retail shop. So when you go in there, they have a non-cold, various cans, various mead, all on shelves and stuff, and it rotates from whatever they can get in from anywhere around the U.S. or the world. And then 5 or 6 coolers full of just any style of beer that are cold you can get, plus a bar with 20 taps that just rotate on. Such an awesome place, a local favorite by far. If you're from this area, odds are you probably know and have been there and gotten beer before. Really, 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 really cool place. GB Bottle Shop in the Ivanhoe Village area. They are an offshoot of the Gnarly Barley, which was kind of Orlando's first craft beer, or one of the first craft beer kind of bars with food and stuff.
Great sandwiches.
Oh, yeah. Awesome sandwiches. You can head over to gbottleshop.com if you want to find out more. Great place. Been there several times, both there. Brought home so many stuff from them. They have everything on tap. So this is, I think at some point this past year, they did their own version of a light beer, and it's called GB Light Crispy Premium Lager. Only 4% alcohol by volume. So it kind of has that color scheme of the high life in terms of champagne of beers. So I'm going to do this straight out the can, man.
I'm going to pour it out so we can get a good pick.
I was always more of a George Strait fan myself.
That's classic right there.
Good old Garth Brooks.
Yes.
He's accepting of everyone.
Oh, yeah. Alan Jackson. You can't forget about him.
Oh,
way down yonder on the Chattahoochee. Here we go.
Cheers.
Cheers. That dude forever. All right, gents. How's that GB Light?
It is a crisp light lager that is like a step down or up or around PBR.
This is a pour out.
No, it is not. We are going to do this. You do it. You do it proud.
Yeah, Ron, you drink.
You do not. This is not an episode where Blake and I drink all the damn beer and you sit there hungover as hell. You drink that, but you opened it.
I'm not hungover as hell.
No. That was the one we drank all the gross beer, and you didn't.
Yeah, but I'm actually drinking this, and it's terrible.
That's not a pour. This is nice light lager.
I wouldn't even cook with this.
Oh, sure. You a little up the butt. What was it? Up the butt?
What?
Chicken? The can up the butt chicken?
Beer butt chicken?
Beer butt chicken. Yeah, whatever the hell it's called. Up the butt, beer butt chicken. Same difference. What the hell has this pod turned into?
Oh, God. Okay.
We have to fly through these matches if we want to get done anywhere near.
Yeah, a chicken with a can up its butt. We need to fly through the rest of the.
Aston Villa once again win again. Matt Call, you must be on cloud nine right now. What a great win! 3-0 over Newcastle, and just absolutely a Unai Emery masterclass as Newcastle, who was surging. And moving up there and trying to stay in the top four. They eventually moved down from third to fourth, and Villa, stays at that sixth spot. They are like winless, they have not lost in their last 5 or 6. Second game in a row with a clean sheet. Aston Villa right now, Oli Watkins is just tearing it up.
On fire.
What
that
an
guy
absolute
can't miss
great
the
result.
goal.
Absolutely. Fulham get a much needed win on the road as they beat Everton 3-1 Goodison. This snaps Fulham's 5-match losing streak and keeps Everton in 17th, tied on points for the last relegation place. Fulham really needed that one. Harry Wilson kind of got inserted into the starting squad and scored. Really like him. He's a tidy player. He's been with Fulham for a while now. Been injured a lot of the season, but really helped out their midfield, and I think he was a driving force for what Fulham did on the attack in that game. And of course, good old Uncle Roy Hodgson once again wins with Crystal Palace. I think it's 3 in a row now, as they went down south and beat a bottom of the table Southampton 2-0 through a brace from Eze. Eze's showing up. He seems to get the best of Eze, and he's doing it without Zaha.
Yeah.
So Palace looking good.
No one really thought was a thing,
right? You think he's going to be the goal scorer, and he's going to kind of lead the line. But he was injured, I think, in the first game back. But he's really tied up the defense and got some other players playing very, very well. So good for good old Uncle Roy. Wolves get all 3 points in back-to-back weeks as they blank Brentford 2-0 as frontman and bad boy Diego Costa gets his first goal for the club.
And that's not a easy thing to do to Brentford.
No, right? Not at all.
Like Brentford's a relatively quality team.
Will probably beat Chelsea this weekend.
Probably.
Yeah. They are good. So yeah, very, very good win from Wolves. I think they're second in a row. As I said, back-to-back, so that's really going to help out, and you pretty much think that they're going to be safe at this point. Tottenham thought they snagged a point in the 88th minute with Danjuma's goal, but Bournemouth said no, as in the 95th minute. I'm going to butcher this name. I apologize. Dango Antaria puts the Cherries ahead as they go on to win 3-2 at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. He scored in the 95th minute.
That was a fun match to watch.
Absolutely was.
The whole time. There was constant scoring. It was back and forth. And then for the Cherries to pull it off at the very gasp was
at the death
thrilling.
When you thought Tottenham was going to go ahead and get that goal, no. 95th, I think it was like 98 minutes or 90, whatever. Blake, you have to be ecstatic with this result.
Oh yeah, what a great basically it's what Arsenal ended up doing to Bournemouth, right? But Bournemouth does it to the Spurs. Love it.
Well, and if you listen to this pod long enough, Bournemouth is kind of this pod's second unified club that we all like a lot. So awesome for the Cherries.
6 points in safety, which
they look like they're going to stay up.
I was just say right now, Southampton, Leicester, and Nottingham.
Yeah. They're not quite, they're 2 games away from being back down there, but so some big wins. So yeah,
and bad teams below them.
Exactly. Antony shines for Manchester United as a goal and assist from the Brazilian is enough to get past Nottingham Forest at the City Ground 2-0 to Manchester United. No Martinez, no Varane, no Rashford, no Luke Shaw. Sabitzer goes out during the warm-ups, and in comes Eriksen. Fun stat, though. A midfield of Eriksen, Casemiro, and Bruno are undefeated in the league this year. They have not lost a single match when those 3 are in there. And Antony shines a bit. Dalot got the second goal. I do have to mention him.
Whenever something like that, I'm excited for the next episode with you.
A very, very tidy finish from Dalot. I did like his post-match with NBC because he was like the live person that they bring in. I bash on him a lot. It's because I like my right backs to be a little bit more tidy on defense, and he's not. He's a liability there at defense. But attacking-wise, he is more of that modern-day wing back where he's better on the attack, in my opinion, than he is in defense, but he's playing a position that should be defense. Anyways, but very good goal from him. A great little pass by Antony, and just a different looking squad, right? You had Antony, Sancho, and Martial up front. Bit different than that Rashford, Weghorst, Antony, Sancho combo at times. But that midfield is so crucial. Eriksen back, he's fit, nice new haircut. But that Casemiro and Bruno trifecta there is absolutely outstanding, and it kind of shows you how crucial a midfield is to a defense and how crucial a midfield is to the attack. They link everything. Great.
I think title contenders for next year.
I'm not saying that yet. Well, it
doesn't matter if you say.
That's fair. We got silverware this year. If we stay in the top 4, very, very successful year that nobody thought was going to happen. Erik ten Hag is called for him prior to when Ole first got sacked. So over a year ago now, said he should be the one to come in, and he's by far exceeded, I think, any United supporters' expectation of what he's been able to do to make Old Trafford just a fortress of a ground to play at, and just hammering out results. Not the best from time to time, but he's honest, he's true, just shades of just a quality, long-standing. I don't want to say Sir Alex quite yet, but he's awesome.
I guess that'll all depend on what happens with your ownership bids part 3.
Which on that front, they wanted a second bid. One of the bidders bowed out and said this is kind of a sham. This is kind of a mess. And now it's like, well, the Glazers really don't think they're going to sell, or they think they're going to still be part owners. And it's the ownership wise for United, it's a mess. Thankfully, it's not playing out on the field the way that Chelsea is.
They're not heading out of the locker room right now.
Exactly.
Do they know where the locker room is? You think the Glazers actually know?
Fairness, it's kind of difficult to get down there. We walked around the stadium a couple of times. It was interesting. Anyways, And finally, on Monday, once again, we all said, where has this Liverpool been all season as they demolish Leeds 6-1 at Ellen Road? And yeah, it may have taken 35 minutes into the match, but a Mo Salah and Diego Jota brace each of them, along with goals from Gakpo and Nunez, never left the match in doubt. And just, they've had results like this. Remember, they beat Bournemouth, 7-0 and early in the season, but then they lose to Nottingham. They just so inconsistent this year. And if they would have kept this a majority of the year, who knows what they would have been. You might have had a 3-headed.
Were they that great, or was just Leeds that just absolute terrible?
Probably a bit
from
of both.
16th place.
Probably a bit of both, yeah.
I mean, I don't think we should be calling Liverpool all high flying. They should have been doing this all season. Leeds is terrible. They can't defend. They can't press. They can barely score sometimes. So
the U.S. former manager has to be sitting there going,
right? Jesse
I will
Marsh.
take my payout and I will sit here on the beach in Brighton and just enjoy a cigar and a drink. And that covers us for what the Premier League weekend entailed.
All right, gents, I believe that wraps us around to wrapping this up. Beer mentions for the pod. I had not a beer this year. I had a cider from Austin East Ciders. It was their pineapple cider, and it was flippin' tasty.
And we had from GB Bottle Shop, we had Hop Butcher for the World out of Chicago and Illinois. Go to hopbutcher.com, and it was a double IPA. I want to believe, because that's what Ron wants to believe in his Chelsea squad at 7.5%. And then we had a beer made by GB Bottle Shop in the version of a light, crispy premium lager, GB Light. And again, head over to gbottleshop.com, I believe. Yes. And fantastic place if you are a beer, mead, any of those type of things here in Orlando. You have to hit that place up. It is awesome.
It's quite good. They have Lunchables for a snack over there.
Amazing. That good old American cheese.
They call it adult Lunchables.
Isn't that just what a charcuterie board is?
Yeah, basically.
It's a poor man's charcuterie board.
Exactly.
Oh, this is not a good lager.
It's a light cheap lager.
There's one I got
more or less.
I haven't had it yet. It's from Gatlinburg Brewing called Gaddy Light. And I just realized they have another brewery near me. So it's not in downtown Gatlinburg I can get to, but it's called Gaddy Light. And I feel like I got to get down to the bottom.
You probably should.
Yeah, this is a great name. What you got, Ferris? You got his Latan quote?
I did. I was scrolling through the book and I saw one that when he was at Stamford Bridge, and I lost it because that would have been perfect for this episode. Like if you want to go through your stuff, and let me see if I can find it real quick.
Well, I have been watching not the History Channel because that's just aliens nowadays. So I have a subscription to Curiosity Stream. They don't support us, but check them out. They're really cheap and they have awesome documentaries. And they're like really cheap for a yearly subscription to stream. And they were doing a thing on Cleopatra and her contemporaries, and come to find out that like we have this depiction of her as being so beautiful and elegant because of the films, Julie Taylor and all that kind of stuff. But at the time, there were people that wrote that not everyone thinks of Cleopatra as beautiful. That's just how Julius Caesar.
I'm going to give you a well done for the history part.
I'll give you a little chuckle for the history, and I followed along. And you're right, the History Channel is all aliens nowadays. The same way the Travel Channel is all paranormal. Like they switched to what's
History Channels reinvented themselves because they used to be the all World War II channel.
Which I love that channel.
I love that.
You learned a lot. Absolutely.
It's time to go to bed.
Yeah.
You cut that on, you learn a little bit more about man.
There's Rommel again going across Africa. You gotta love it.
If they would at least switch to actual history at like 11 o'clock at night, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Well, in the same way that MTV doesn't play music videos anymore. This is no longer, Anyways, we may have said this quote before. I don't know, but it was
start marking them off.
You know what? We should have done that from the start. Now we're just all sorts.
I've told you that like 100 pots ago.
Well, if you hear it again, who cares? As I'm wearing a Zlatan Man United jersey right here. on being sent off for PSG at Stamford Bridge in the Champions League in 2015. Zlatan is quoted as saying, "When the red card happened, the worst thing was the Chelsea players. I felt like there were 11 babies around me." Todd Bowley, take a hint from this. Go down there and give that speech.
Can I give another one from November 28th, 2020?
Go ahead.
Zlatan, Chelsea can't sign me. I have more trophies than Chelsea. I should be the one to sign them.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Love it.
Yeah. I was like, there's got to be another one. Oh my God, there is. This is a good one here.
And he made news this week. I don't know if you saw, he posted which apparently was from a movie years ago, like 4 or 5 years ago, where he's doing this stunt scene where there's actors falling onto pads and he's doing all of this and just, some choreographed, scenes, and it kind of made news like, oh, look how old Zlatan is doing all this stuff. He's so great. And then it came, and then, I don't think he portrayed it as that way, but it was just like, oh, no, this was actually from a movie that he did 5 years back, which I can't remember the name of it on hand, but I definitely want to see it.
I would make Terminator in a heartbeat and have him remake it, and he's the Arnold. Yeah. Imagine just barely any dialogue, just do. And you got Zlatan just walking towards you on the screen.
If you Google Zlatan stunts and find the link for the sun, you can watch the video of it.
Well, I'll be doing that right after this. All right, gents, that got us?
I believe it does.
All right. Follow us on thebrutifulgame.com. Go to all our socials, Twitter, the Facebooks, what have you. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. However you listen to us, take a screen grab, get it to us. We'll get a koozie or something fun out to you, a magnet or something into the mail. Tell your friends and family all about us. Unless they don't like football, then I don't know what they're listening for. And then last but not least, the Brutiful Game, in case you didn't know, beer and football are for friggin' everyone. Love the beer. Cherish the game, gents. The Brutiful Game.
Cheers.
Hallelujah.